All right, welcome back to the Jason Gray Show. I got a special guest today. Alex, how are you?
Good. How are you?
All right, got a college student over here. It's my kid. I know she's got a tan. She's, she really is my kid, though, but whatever. We're going to debate Tesla today, and I guess you prepared.
Very much so. More than even a homework assignment.
All right, perfect. And I don't know the answers to these questions or what the questions are going to be, so we'll see what sort of happens with this conversation. So hit me with what you got.
Okay.
What you got?
So since you're such a fanboy
Yes, okay.
of Elon and Tesla,
Yes.
I'm just going to quiz you, kind of ask you some questions. Okay, we're going to start off with just a couple cons that are obvious. That AAA is just now expanding their ability to charge electric cars when they die, because that happens sometimes. So you can't just call Tesla.
Sometimes. Now, you've driven my Tesla and Jack's Tesla,
Yes.
right? And the range anxiety that you initially have in an electric car, has it gone away?
No.
You still have range anxiety?
Yeah, because the miles are not always accurate.
Okay, so if you're on the freeway going fast, hills, whatever, of course that range fluctuates a little bit. So I've taken the Tesla down to 6 miles of range, and I was in downtown Seattle.
Does that not scare you?
It was like I went to the first charging station, it was closed, and I was like, where's the next one, right? It was only a mile away, so I felt good about it. So, but it's good for AAA to make these changes because there are going to be a lot more electric cars, so they're going to have to make some changes. They're going to have to move like everyone else moves. So, yeah, they're good for AAA.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, next.
Okay.
So even though you go to a charging station for Tesla,
Right.
you still have to pay.
Correct.
Not even if it's just a normal EV charging station.
Yes. So,
And those prices cost between like $15 and $18 depending on the model.
and how much you have to charge?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So you have your gas guzzler car, the Range Rover. Okay, so when you go to the gas station, you have to pay for gas. Cost you how much to fill up your car and your premium gasoline? $120 to fill it up?
Okay, whoa.
Well,
No,
I'm just
like
saying.
100.
Okay, so let's say about the charging stations. Now, one of the fallbacks or one of the disadvantages a little to a Tesla is there's only so many supercharging stations throughout the area.
Correct.
Right. So luckily, there's one close to us. I mean, it's just a couple miles down the road. Now, you have to imagine, though, right now they have 3,700 of those throughout the world. They're planning on doubling that by the end of 2023. So they should have 7,500 of them.
Where's your Cybertruck? How long was that supposed to?
You're totally right. Now, the dates can be, the dates can push itself off a little
Yeah.
bit. But heck, I signed up for that Cybertruck in the first 5 hours, and I'm still like 100,000 people back. But production's going to happen here in July. So let's go back to the stations, though. So think about how Tesla now is created. So let's say they have 3,700 now. Let's say they have 7,000 by the end of 2023. They've just created themselves multiple gas stations, like gas stations or electric stations.
Yes.
And what does that do to their revenue? Think about that. So yeah, it costs you $20 to charge it up.
Yeah, but as the driver,
Yeah, but
that's not fair.
It's totally fair. You have to your electricity. You have to charge the car up. If you charge it at home, it costs you a little bit of money. Now,
If you're going to a Tesla one designated for Tesla.
Yep, but you still have to pay for it. It still costs you money. It's costing doing business. But think about the genius thing of Tesla themselves. Now they have 7,000 gas stations, electric stations that are out there that no one else has. Now you talk about the off-brand non-Tesla stations. Most of the times those things don't work. They have like a success rate of like 60% of the times those things work. Tesla is like almost everything always works. I've never gone to a Tesla station where it has not worked. It's always worked. So now they've opened up some of their stations to where they allow some non-EVs of Teslas to charge up on them. They're going to open up 10 to 15% of their gas stations, electric stations. And now think about the revenue source they're going to create for themselves. In the long run, this is genius. Right?
Okay, but then how are other cars going to be able to charge? Because if a Tesla goes to a normal EV charging station, you have to have the adapter, whatever.
So they now created an adapter for it. So same thing. So you have to download this mobile app, and you say you're a non-Tesla, and it has to be at a certain Tesla charging stations. There's a very select few of them, and there's on this map. They click it, and it actually pulls down this little adapter that's on the charging station and you put it in your
Sounds like a lot of work when you can just put the gas nozzle in the car.
But how much does it cost you to fill up your gas guzzling car?
At least I know how many 100. At least I know how many miles I have left, and that's actually true.
If you drive faster, does your gas mileage go down in your car?
I don't really ever check that.
Yeah, it does.
Well, I knew the answer to that question.
Okay, but it's a valid point, and the charging time does take a little extra time, as we both know.
Yes.
So you lose some time there.
Yes.
So there is some. Now that will change over time of technology. So, but for right now, is it horrible? For us, it's not, because we literally pull into the garage, charge it up on the 220, and it charges like that.
Yeah.
And then when we rotate 2 Teslas in between that one charger.
Yeah.
And do we ever have problems? No. Now, if we had a third Cybertruck.
Yeah, then we're going to be a little screwed.
Okay, so then it'll be a little more difficult. But the Cybertruck will be on new technology too. So they're coming out with a faster charging system for that new Tesla truck as well. But okay.
Yeah, because it's going to be taking up more miles and going to cost more if you have to charge.
Okay, let's see.
Okay. Now we're going to go into just the car itself and the system.
Okay, let's talk about it.
There's been many, many, many times that the autopilot has given out or failed.
Okay. And what do you mean by autopilot giving up and failing? Give me
the
an
computer system. And that dangers other people driving.
So are you talking about the full self-driving?
Yes.
Okay, and how has it failed you?
Hasn't failed me personally because I'm too scared to use it.
Okay. So
actually, an example for you.
Okay.
Let's just use you. Okay. You around roundabouts. You do have to take over. That can endanger someone walking, crossing the roundabout.
Okay. Right.
Pedestrians, other cars.
Okay, so let's talk about where it was at a year ago versus where it's at today. So
still endangering.
So a year ago, it would go into a roundabout and it would be like, that car's going. It's going.
Yeah, it's not stopping.
Right, and it felt uncomfortable, so I would take over. Because I was like, this doesn't feel quite comfortable. And remember, the full self-driving is just in the beta version, so we still have to take control of the car. They always nudge you every 30 seconds to make sure you're touching the wheel. So I understand that.
Yeah, and you've cheated that.
Yeah, and there are a couple corners. There are a couple of corners that don't feel comfortable to me. So I know these corners aren't feeling comfortable. Now, as technology has increased and gotten better through the releases, I can go around the roundabout on East Lake Sammamish and actually go around that roundabout. If there's no cars around me, I'm like, let's just go for it, because the car slows down so much. That's like, I don't want to slow everyone else down. So that's one thing that's bad about the full self-driving. Sometimes it slows itself down too much, and you sort of feel like, this is not natural. Yeah. And so as it's been changing, it's getting better. Now, this weekend, I was sitting there with they're having the new version 11.3.2,
that
whatever.
That you wouldn't shut up about?
Constantly not shut up about. But I was checking about every hour, and I still don't have it. And now Katie stole my car, so I still don't have it because I haven't checked it. But I'm hoping that comes out. At least the reviews that I've heard or seen, it says as a more natural feel even to that next version, and they'll get better. And at some point in time, they have to take into consideration that bicyclist or that person on the sidewalk. And if you watch the videos, it's pretty amazing on how the car will go around cars and stop for pedestrians. It has improved dramatically over the last 12 months, and I think it will continue to improve. And then at some point in time, it's way better than the legacy automakers. They have a sort of full self-driving on the freeway, but it's not really full self-driving, right? This car literally stops at stop signs, takes a right-hand turn, turns the turn signal on for you, stops for pedestrians. There's not another automaker that does all that stuff well. So I think it's doing pretty good. But it's a valid point. It's not perfect. It's getting better. It's a work in progress.
Huh? At any time, you're really gonna trust a computer in your car?
Oh man, when this like rush hour traffic, I don't even think about it. It literally just stops and goes, and it's great.
That would scare me.
And plus, I can't see at night, so this is really good for my.
Yeah, actually, it probably could.
Yeah, it actually probably helps me.
Okay, something that you don't really need to touch on. I just have to make the point that they're known for their tires wearing out fast. And then it's just Tesla tires. Like, you can't just
let's
get
talk about
any
the
type
tires.
of tire.
So we did switch out the tires on the Tesla at, about 30,000 miles. I did get another set that was off a Tesla. And, the funny thing about inside those tires, if you have a tire, it's just a shell of a tire, right? Mm-hmm. But inside the Tesla tires, they have this little foam piece on the inside. And what they're doing is they're trying to create less road noise on those tires. Now, if you go buy it at like Discount Tire or Les Schwab or whatever, they don't have those foam little insides
So
on
you have
it.
to buy it separately.
You don't even do it. You just buy normal tires. The road noise goes up a little bit by doing so.
Okay.
And the road noise has improved dramatically over the last couple of years too, because they've redesigned the windows and the ceiling and everything like that. I mean, you compare the 2018 Tesla that we have versus Jack's Tesla. Jack's Tesla definitely has a different fit and feel to it compared to mine.
Yeah.
So
I think it also looks better inside. Okay. So some questions that I do have answers to that might shock you.
Oh boy.
How much lithium does it take to make 100 Teslas?
I have no idea, but do you know Tesla is creating their own lithium manufacturing center?
Probably because it costs too damn much.
It does. That's exactly right. So think about how genius this is. So lithium cost went up dramatically.
Yeah.
And then now it's starting to come down. Now they're using lithium in their cars, but they're now creating a lithium manufacturing center out of Texas, which will help reduce their costs for their cars. In turn, they can pass that on to the consumer. How much more are they more efficient and more ahead of the other OEMs, or the OEMs are just like Chevy and Ford and all those guys.
Okay.
So, but how much more efficient are they? And they can then pass those cost savings off into their cars, into the consumer, and they're that much more ahead of the legacy automakers.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that is a lot of talk
So how
from
much?
them.
How much does it cost, or how much lithium?
It's upwards of 75 kilograms. So that's 11 to 165 pounds.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Depending on the model.
Is lithium a really rare earth material, or is it found everywhere?
Regardless, it
I'm just
doesn't
asking you.
matter.
Okay, so it's around everywhere. So, but that's okay. It's a really good point.
And then there's about 500,000 pounds of earth that must be moved to extract enough lithium for
make that
one
happen.
Tesla battery.
You're totally right. And what does it take to do oil, right? And so it doesn't. You're not extracting earth, but there's still some environmental impacts.
Yeah.
And remember, let's say one of the people say one of the disadvantages to a Tesla or a battery operated car or whatever you want to call it, that what happens to the battery afterwards and what.
Oh
is,
yeah,
the
we're
disposal
getting
cost.
into that.
Okay, so let's talk about that. So they say about 92% of that vehicle can be recycled, and now that will create opportunities for more industries because they will have to have recycling centers to recycle those batteries and then be able to use those same things that are in there.
Yeah.
And they are coming into with technology over the last couple of months. They said that they will be using less rare earth materials where they'll become at some point in time here really soon where they will not need any rare earth materials at all, which is really big because China has the most rare earth materials in the world. And so that will put their dependency on that rare earth materials at a much less thing. So keep that.
It's a lot of speculation on a Tesla.
But
What they're gonna do.
But let's think about their let's think about their history though. Now timing wise, you're right. Let's talk about the Tesla truck or the Model Y or how they're building up energy and all the other stuff that they're doing. Sometimes, do they hit their timelines? But you got to talk about this guy. This guy's like throwing up rockets up in the air and like throwing like a couple a day, and then he's doing like this.
Well, then maybe he should just stick to one thing, so then he gets his stuff done on time.
But what's he doing for the world in general in the long run?
Oh, he's so perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Fanboy.
But, fanboy. So talking about that lithium, just one last point.
Okay.
It only takes 8 kilograms to make like a hybrid or a Prius,
Right.
and that you can make 1,000 hybrids or Priuses for just 100 Teslas.
So
You're
but
making
right, but
more cars.
But you're worrying about so that's could be a valid point. I don't know the statistic, but let's talk about Prius. So you're making 2 different engines in one car. You're making a gas motor engine plus this electric engine that's in there that sort of goes through. But think about the cost of having to make 2 separate engines into a car and how that will pass along onto the consumer in the end of the day. Tesla's worrying about trying to bring cost efficiencies down to bring the cost of the cars down so they can roll out to the masses. Their next thing is a $25,000 car if they can roll their production costs down. How many people buy a $25,000 car versus a $50,000 car? You open the market up to a lot more people. But yes, it's a valid point.
Oh my God, it's like talking to a wall. Okay, so then going on to the battery and like turnaround time, can they be reused?
Okay.
So the battery costs could change, obviously, depending on the model.
Yeah, for sure.
And those cost upwards of $10,000.
Okay.
But a brand new one is like $23,000.
Yeah, so so the warranty on the batteries are great, right? And you sort of feel with our Model 3, the 2018 performance that we have, the range is lessened a little bit. I think we both can agree that happens, right?
Yeah.
And
that's kind of where it says like after 160,000 miles, it just keeps going down by like 10%.
Yeah, and that could be an issue, right? But how much usage are you going to get out of that car over time comparatively to, like you have to do an oil change for, every car that you have. How much was your oil change that cost you the last time we did an oil change?
Okay, well they
added some things on, but
yeah.
Okay, so let's say it's $200.
Yeah.
And you have to do that every 3,000 miles. Okay.
Well, ideally, do people ever do that? No.
Most people should. So let's go 5,000 miles, and let's go at 100,000 miles, just right there, right? There's at least 20 oil changes. At $200 a piece, there's $4,000 down the drain. Now you're talking about 160,000 miles. So right there, you're out another let's say another $6,000, and this is before you have to deal with other maintenance issues. You got radiators and hoses and belts and all the other stuff, which Tesla doesn't have. What's the maintenance that we've had to do on this Tesla since we've owned it?
It's probably because we're great drivers. Because if you wreck it, then it's totaled.
One set of tires, and we replaced the air filters inside the car. Now, the air filter location on the Model 3, Tesla engineers, is in a horrible location. And it's not the easiest thing to get into. But but really the maintenance piece is zero in regards to what we're dealing with. And so...
okay, but then if you replace a damaged battery pack,
it could cost you a lot of money.
It would cost upwards of $17,000.
And that could be an issue. But an engine in a car could go, and how much is an engine in a car replacing?
I don't know.
$15,000.
Not that much.
Oh, yes, it is for sure, 100%. Dana, how much is an engine replacement on a car, do you think? Yeah, 15 to 20,000. Okay, there you go.
Well,
okay.
Shit.
Okay. You're doing so good, by the way. I love these questions.
Okay, good.
I'm so glad you prepared for this. This is amazing. So glad I'm prepared, too. Anyways, okay, go ahead.
Can you leave all of this off the top of your head? Okay. So then where do the batteries go if they're not recycled? So obviously most of them,
I think it's
92% or whatever can be recycled, but then where do they go?
So that will have to go into it's almost like, again, back to a car example, right? There's things that have to be disposed of of a car that you can't dispose all of it, but this will create some unique opportunities for some new businesses, right? Which will make some really good money on recycling just battery vehicle cars. It'll be interesting to see really how long Teslas last too, right? I mean, lots of cars just get damaged due to wrecks and they total out cars. The same thing's going to happen to a Tesla. Can we go back to the full self-driving piece that you brought up? Because I just thought of something.
Yes.
So tell me how many miles it takes on average for just you and I driving before we get into a wreck. On average, if you're just a normal driver, I know you're the best driver in the world, but you got in a wreck. But, and I had to when I was 18. But how many miles do you think an average person drives before they get in a wreck?
I don't know. How many do you think?
500,000 miles is an average for just a normal driver to drive. Okay. On the data they have right now in the full self-driving, it takes 3.5 million miles.
They pulled that out of their ass.
They did
That
not.
is not
They
true.
have- they have-
their data? Where'd they get that from?
For them, their little dojo, little computer machine that they got. Yeah, it actually has real data. So take a look at that. So that car is going to become safer over time, way safer than a human. Just saying. Anyways, go ahead. Go back to your questions.
Okay.
It popped in my head.
Second.
It's like a squirrel thing. Squirrel.
Yeah.
Right. So,
Constantly.
Okay. Oh, we only have a little couple questions here.
I know.
Are these the hard questions? Because these questions have been pretty easy so far.
You're such a dick.
Oh my God.
I'm just testing you. I'm really quizzing your fanboy knowledge.
Okay, perfect.
What is the impact on soil contamination over years? So then, like, the waste product from manufacturing
Right.
can be like the carbon emissions and the toxin
Going into
that
the system.
That's
actually an excellent question. So in Germany, there's a big issue with water rights and how much water can be given into the Tesla factory in Germany. And it's like the number is like a ridiculous low amount of water that you can use on a daily basis. They have like a threshold that Tesla you can't use more than this much water. So that was one of their biggest issues they dealt with in Germany. And so now they just applied for a permit to double their space in Germany. Okay. And they said they can use the same amount of water as they were using before. So water usage would be exactly the same as what they were using before, which is great. But I don't know the environmental like regulations or what they have. But clearly, Germany is incredibly strict in regards to their regulations for building these cars. So they're probably our best example of how they've had to be really efficient on things. You know, they're trying to be as efficient as possible. They're trying to make us a sustainable world that's using just, you know, really energy from solar panels and wind energy and stuff like that, and trying to get away from fossil fuels. So we have to sort of weigh out, are both have their disadvantages. Yeah. But I think in the long run, I think Tesla's got a good widget that's going to create a better sustainable stuff for us in the long run. And that goes into those other like little categories that were said we're just going to talk about cars today. But the other pieces of those puzzles really wrap into this, where they're trying to do good for the humanity is what they're trying to do. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know I got a little news that you already know about this.
I know about what?
But that Tesla is now making their own like car insurance, since it's so expensive to insure a Tesla, because Tesla in particular, because they're so cost efficient to repair and expensive to insure that like if you crash, it's pretty much just a total.
And I think it'll become worse, to be honest with you, because they're gigacasting all the front piece and back pieces. So I think if you lose that back piece on a wreck, it's not going to be worth it for you to replace it. They're just going to total it.
Right.
It's almost like the unibody cars they have these days. If you bend that body at all on, let's say your Jeep when you got in the wreck, if you were to bend that frame, then they would have just totaled that car out. But Teslas are more expensive to insure. The problem that they're dealing with is that regulators in different states is not allowing Tesla to utilize insurance. They have to go to each individual state and say, will you allow us to insure these cars? And the state regulators are what's the ones slowing them down. I think they only are insured in like 12 states in the United States. I think it's a requirement in China for them to utilize their insurance. But if they scale this, the insurance is way cheaper. And what I've been told, and I don't know the data on this, but as in those states where they're doing the insurance, the other insurance companies now had to drop their prices, because if not, they were going to lose those customers. So think about that, right? Yeah. So if they're driving costs down in these other states, if they can get the other states to approve it, then it will eventually save them some money as well. But yes, does it cost a little bit to insure these things? Yeah, but that's okay. It's cost of doing business.
Okay, then what do you have to say about how they're so expensive to repair? Because it's like the parts, there's really, it's what one part body. Exactly.
So you got the body parts. So if you total your car on a wreck, same thing. It's just hard. It's more expensive to find those parts, right? But if you
and then you can only go to like Tesla to fix it.
You can go to a normal body shop.
Well, they're not going to know as much.
Well, that's okay.
As you said, the Tesla
and that's with the repair pieces too. That's a really good point. Let's talk about just basic repairs. Let's say the shock absorber in the front is damaged, and you don't take it to a Tesla dealer. What does that do, right? A lot of people just don't know how to work on them yet. And that will change over time, because it is a new car. You know, take a look. There's only 3 million of them been built so far, and you talk about them, how they're scaling. Everyone's going to have to pivot in regards to how they repair EVs, between it being battery packs and all the rest of the stuff that's associated, body parts, anything. They're all going to have to sort of pivot with anything. It's almost like car toys. The cars have really good stereos in them these days. Place. I know, my favorite place. Have really good stereos in them these days, but car toys has had to pivot in regards to what they sell, right? So that has changed over the years too. Car repair places are going to have to pivot as well. It's okay, and that'll happen over time. If Tesla is really going to scale the way they're going to scale, they have no other choice other than make changes. Yeah. So yes, but yes, things can be a little more expensive, but the cost factor on the other side of lack of repairs, lack of maintenance that has to be done, it saves you so much money on the other side too. You got to weigh out both sides.
I don't really have anything.
That's all you got?
I mean, do you want to make any final comments?
One of your and your sister's comments are that they're a dime a dozen. They're everywhere, especially in our place.
Everywhere. Yeah. I look like everyone else on the road. I hate that. And
you don't like having the same thing on the road, right?
Yeah. Yes. No. And like
we've changed our cars up a little bit. Yeah. So they look different.
Yours is better than Jack's.
Yeah.
Because Jack's is just.
Hey Jack, I'll fix yours up at some point in time. I just got to see how you drive for a little while.
Driving.
Yeah. But you got to see how that looks.
And I feel like it's nice that like the noise, I guess, is like not as much like the just driving noise. But my one thing when like I first drove in the back seat of a Tesla was that I got so car sick.
You did. That's right.
Yeah.
And is that still the case now when you sit in the back seat?
I don't ever really sit in the back, but when I do, I never get car sick.
Yeah.
But whenever I do sit in the back,
do you think it's a lack of noise?
I think it is.
Okay. That's one thing that you sort of feels you got this, like that performance that we have, the Performance 3. It's like it'll smoke anything on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one positive.
Yeah, that's one positive. But losing that rumble of an engine noise.
Yeah.
You sort of lose that, right? Which it does feel weird. I mean, it's like the other day when we pulled the boat up to the dock and you said, "Oh my God, I love the smell of that the gas," right?
Yep.
It's just like you have these certain things, but things will change over time, and it'll be really interesting. There will be some people. There'll be probably 25% of the population or 30% of the population say, "I'm going to have a gas car, whatever is going to happen."
Yeah.
There's going to be those group of people, which is totally fine. But I think when full self-driving really comes into play, where it's actually like we're releasing it, where you don't have to touch the wheel and control it, and someone gets in a car with you and experiences that experience, and they feel that confident behind.
Think you're going to win everyone over?
I think so.
I doubt it. People want to be able to hear their car take off.
Some people do. You're right. But I think just when I get into like the truck and have to drive the truck, I'm like, I have to actually drive the truck.
Oh my God! That's a horrible way to think that you don't even have to drive whenever you get in the car.
But I'm driving the Tesla I'm still paying attention, but I'm not like, oh my gosh, got to worry about this or that or I still worry, but I'm not as worried.
Do you text and drive when you're on self-drive? Yeah.
No, I don't do that. There's no way.
No, horrible.
Yes, no, not at all. I don't watch videos or do anything while I'm driving the car.
Videos on Tesla.
Yeah. So, all right. Thank you so much for coming in.
Of course.
Did you have fun?
I did.
I think you were really well prepared.
Thank you.
Did anyone help you with your questions? Do we know someone who maybe helped you with some questions?
Not in this room.
Not in this room. Okay.
And not. I guess a family member.
A family member. Okay, good. I hope you guys love this video. Will you come back in again and do another video at some point in time with me?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Everyone take care, like and subscribe. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.